everyone, it's Liz Holloway here and welcome to my video tutorial. Today I am going to show you how to create a Versamark Resist technique, and it is based on this card. I had actually made this card just using the shimmering white cardstock, but I'm going to show you another technique which is similar to this technique, but this time I'm using what do you call this? It's kind of like a glossy paper, and they call it glossy cardstock. And you can see when I twist, you can see the shadow and the reflection of this cardstock. And it comes in an 8.5 by 11. And I'm going to show you how this is done. So you're going to start off with a 4.25 by 5.5 of glossy cardstock. And then you're going to need your Versamark, okay? And I'm going to use the same stamp set called the Dandelion Wishes. And I'll link up to the information on my blog later on. So basically this is called the Versamark Resist. And you are going to ink up your stamp and randomly stamp onto your glossy cardstock. And you can't really see where you're placing the stamped image. You just have to lift it up just enough so you know where to go, and you're going to stamp, and you don't want to touch that area because it's going to smudge. So I'm gonna just keep stamping as I go and lifting up my paper so that I can actually see where I'm stamping, and it's okay if you overlap. Okay, and then gonna have a couple more spots here and here. So once that is done, take your heat tool and heat it up. And basically you want to remove the stickiness and drying out the Versamark. Okay, so then you have that Versamark, and then you're going to take one of your colors. I'm going to keep on using the Mango Melody. And I'm bringing in my dauber case, and it's got the Mango Melody here. So lifting that up. And then placing the dauber into the finger, your index finger or whatever finger, even the middle finger you can use, okay? Just depending on how comfortable you are. So here I'm taking my dauber, and wherever I stamp, it's going to resist the ink. Okay, and you're going to just keep on coloring it to the consistency of the color that you want it to be. Now this might be a little too pale, so I might just even go to another color that is a bit darker. I'm just going to keep playing around with the color, and I think I'm going to change it to a bit darker color. So I'm going to put back my Mango Melody into the dauber case, and I'll probably going to use probably either the pumpkin pie or the crushed curry. So I'm going to try the crushed curry first. Crushed curry, so here's the crushed curry, and this is my dauber right here. Nope, that didn't work either. Okay, so I'm going to try, let's go with the pumpkin pie. It's a bit darker. Oh, and this is, yeah, pumpkin pie right here. So it's a bit darker. And you can see that the Versamark is popping out. Now this glossy is very glossy. It slides. Okay, and then when you take your tissue paper, all you're going to do is rub it off so that wherever you stamp your Versamark, it's going to resist. So it's just kind of like a subtle background color that you want. Okay, and then if you want more color, then go ahead and add a bit more ink. Okay, and then again, wipe it off where you have stamped your image. Okay, so I am pretty much happy. I might add another color. So let's see whether I can add a bit of, let's go with the Cajun Craze. So here's my Cajun Craze. And then my dauber is right here. Okay, so even if I'm adding a bit of Cajun into the background, and you can just, like I said, mix up the colors, whether you want it a bit darker, whether you want a bit of red, just depending on what kind of look of the background you want. Okay, so I'm just going certain areas sporadically because I want a bit of the orange, and then I think I'm going to go and add one more color, and I'm going to go with my shaded spruce. So here's this pretty shaded spruce. Now when you're doing cards, if you like playing around with colors, it's always nice to have a good technique that you can play and just do whatever you want. There's no rhyme or reason as to how you make it. It's just playing. Love playing with colors. I love playing with different techniques, and I love, you know, whatever I can show you to make this card look extremely wild. Okay, and then I'm gonna again burnish off with the cloth. And just wiping off the excess. It's just kind of like, it looks like a bokeh background. Okay, and so here's that. And then what I'm going to now do is I'm going to use my, I think we had StazOn ink before, but I'm going to try using the Momentum ink. It's a black ink. And then I'm going to go with, again, with the floating dandelion. And with the glossy card, it might just slide, so you got to be careful. And so I'm just gonna lightly add this background here, and then I'm gonna heat set it with my heat tool. You just want to like keep stamping until you get the consistency that you want. All right, so here's that, and then I'm gonna take my heat tool again, and I'm gonna heat up and dry it. Okay, so then put this back. Okay, so then the next thing is that you want to cut down your cardstock down to, or cut it in half depending on what type of look that you want. Okay, so this is already cut at 5 1/2, and then if you want half of that, that would be 2 1/4 right in here, and then 2 1/4, and then if you want the spacing that's in between, depending on what you want, you can start off with maybe, let's say, so this piece here is 3 1/4, so maybe you want like half, so this would be like 2 3/4. My recommendation, if you can, is to leave them aside so that you're not going to get mixed up as to the order, and you can make the next one a little bit bigger, So this will probably be at 2¼ and then the next one might be a little bit bigger, so depending on what you want. Okay, this is now at 1½. So you see that it's I got 3 different sizes, and then I can just leave this one, or I can cut it down even further. Okay, so then what you're going to do is take your cardstock, eight and a half, 4¼ by 11. I always like my landscape that way. I don't know why. And then you're just going to arrange all your pre-cut card, just like this, leaving a bit of a space. And if you want a bit of black, you can do that. Or, you know, I'm going to probably cut this off because it's too big for what I like it to be. So depending on what size, let's see, let's go make it smaller. And then you can even spread it across just like this, even right across your 4¼ inch cardstock. Or you can even arrange it so that it looks like this. Okay, and then a sentiment. And I think I'm going to do that. So gotta lay this out. I'm going to put this aside. So take my bone folder and crease that well. Okay, so then what you're going to do is pick a grid line, making sure that it doesn't move. So I'm going to just put my blocks right here. And then pick a line and figure out what you want it done. Okay, so if you want this up and down arrangements, which I probably will do. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my glue, add a glue here and glue there, and I start off with maybe from here lining up my grid, just like this. Hold it in place for a couple seconds to make sure that it's glued down. Okay, and then I'm going to take this piece here and then I'm going to add that right here. And then you want equal space all the way down. And I normally don't measure, and I just like to eyeball it. It's how you see fit with your eyes. Okay, and then this one, lay it right here. Like I said, I like using glue because it gives you some wiggle room to maneuver your pieces. And add this right in here. And you can even move this up. I'm going to move this up a little bit. And then this last piece right here. Okay, and then if I need, I can add one more, which I will probably do because I still have this, right? So I'm going to make it even a different size. Whatever size you want, doesn't matter. And then put that right there. And it might be too big, so you can trim it down a little bit more. I know I'm going off grid from the camera, but I just didn't want to move my pieces. So I'm going to trim a little bit more, a little tiny piece, just like that. And then add this right here. You want it like a proportion from this this side and on this side, just close enough. Okay, and then I'm not even sure what I want as my display, and I'm thinking maybe I'll go and use my my dies. So I'm bringing out this stitched frameless die, and I love it. And I play with this snap, this particular one, right here. Let's see, what should I do? Maybe white, maybe green. I'm thinking the garden green. Let's see how that works. So here's my big shot. And garden green. And then the plate right on top. And then I'm bringing my brush, and I'm going to brush off these little pieces here. If it doesn't come off, then take your pokey stick or even your X-Acto knife. So it's not coming off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and realign this again. So basically when you're needing to realign, just kind of put it right back into the alignment, and it might just throw it off a little bit, like especially for this little piece right here. You want to make sure that it just goes right back into the crevices, and then take your big shot again, and wherever your big shot is sitting, like right on these two ends, those two ends marks it so that you can actually cut it, and it's a deeper or much more pressure on those two ends. I'm going to go ahead and cut, and it might be that I need my precision cutter to place it. So I'm going to cut this one more time and turn it around and cut that through. Okay, fingers crossed. Then I'll have to do this again. And looks like it's cut. Okay, so I'm going to take my brush again. I think it's supposed to be like that. So let's just take a look at whether it will work. And so I think the colors will work like that. So I'm going to take my white embossing powder and white craft pad. So here's my white embossing powder. Oh, my Whisper White Craft. And what sentiments do I want? Let's see. Let's use the same thing, out of the same set. Sending well wishes on your way. I made a wish and it came true. Wishing for a lifetime of love and happiness. Let's go sending well wishes on your way. Okay. Let's take this. This is brand new. Okay, and then remove that, and I'm gonna. Okay, so to line up your wordings, because there's no, I haven't put my label on, all I'm going to do is just go ahead, line up my acrylic block. It's got the grid line on it, but sometimes you can't see the grid line. Here, I'll put it right here so that you can actually see the grid line. Okay, and so when you got your grid line, you can line the words up, like pick a line like right in here, and then just line it up with your acrylic block. And then if you don't have lines on the acrylic block, then use your grid paper. I'm gonna place that right there. Okay, I'm gonna use my white craft ink and tap tap tap, check it, and then here I'm gonna center this die, and I'm gonna center my wordings. Lift it up, and then I'm gonna take my white powder and dip it in. Okay, so if you have powder, unwanted powder on your stamped image, just take a dry brush. Any dry brush will work, and then just brush off anywhere that you don't want your powder to be. Okay. Take your heat tool and heat set. Just like this. And then take this, and I'll probably pop it up with my the dimensionals. Okay, and then just go ahead and do this. And this is a very simple card, nothing to it. It just gives you a bit of the background and using the stitch die. And this is another technique called the Versamark technique Resist, and it's just a great technique to use for a background. So I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and I'll be back on Wednesday for a Facebook Live, and I'll see you then. Bye bye for now. If you have any questions, I can be reached at liz.holloway@gmail.com or visit my blog www.lizhollowaydesign.ca and the following Facebook pages, Liz Holloway Design or the Paper Fanatics.